Hello, my name is Alex. I'm 34 years old and I live alone in Hanoi, Vietnam. A few years ago, my life looked very different. I was a software engineer at a global tech company. On paper, it was the kind of life many people work toward for years: stable income, recognizable company name, a clear career path, and the quiet validation that comes with being able to say, I made it. From the outside, everything looked fine, maybe even successful. I had the job title people respected. I had the structure, routine, and the kind of work that sounded impressive in conversations. My days were filled with deadlines, meetings, code reviews, product discussions, and the familiar rhythm of solving problems that always needed solving. It was fast, demanding, and often exhausting, but it gave me something easy to hold on to: identity. For a long time, that was enough, until it wasn't. At some point, something shifted, not all at once, and not in some dramatic, cinematic way. It happened slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, the kind of change you only notice after it has already been happening for months. I became tired in a way rest didn't fix. Not just tired from work, but tired in a deeper way. Tired of the repetition, tired of the constant pressure to optimize everything, tired of measuring life through productivity, tired of living inside routines that looked functional but felt empty. So I quit. There was no perfect plan, no exciting next chapter waiting, no startup idea, no career pivot, no big move designed to reinvent myself. I just left. And now I'm 34, living alone in Vietnam with no job, no friends, and no partner. It sounds bleak when I say it that directly. Maybe it is. Most days are quiet. There are no meetings on my calendar, no Slack notifications, no one asking where I am, no one waiting for me after work, no messages lighting up my phone, no plans for the weekend, just me, my thoughts, and a life that has become much quieter than I ever expected. And quiet, I've learned, can be both peaceful and brutal. Some mornings begin slowly. I make coffee, I open the windows, I listen to the city wake up outside while my apartment stays still. Vietnam is full of movement: motorbikes, cafes, street vendors, conversations spilling onto sidewalks. Life here is always happening somewhere. But inside, my days are simple and mostly silent. I spend a lot of time alone now, more than I ever used to. And when you spend enough time alone, you begin to see yourself more clearly. Not the polished version, shaped by work, ambition, or social performance. Just a quieter, less edited version, the one underneath all the noise. Sometimes that clarity is useful. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Usually it's both. There are days I miss the structure of my old life. I miss having somewhere to be. I miss feeling useful in a way that was easy to explain. I miss the convenience of being busy. Work gave shape to time. It gave me momentum. It gave me a role to play. Without it, time feels different. Slower, looser, heavier. Some days feel calm enough to breathe in. Others feel shapeless and hard to carry. And yet, somewhere inside all this emptiness, there is also something honest. For the first time in years, I'm no longer hiding inside productivity. No longer filling every hour so I don't have to think. No longer using work as proof that my life is moving in the right direction. Now there's no distraction, no performance, no title to introduce myself with, just Alex. And maybe that is the uncomfortable question underneath all of this. Who are you when all the things that once defined you are gone? I don't have a clean answer yet. I'm still figuring it out. This season of my life is not impressive. It doesn't look ambitious from the outside. It isn't the kind of story people usually tell when they want to sound inspiring. It's quieter than that, messier than that, more uncertain than that. But it's real, and maybe that matters more. Right now, my life is a small, quiet mornings, long afternoons, evening walks, thoughts that linger longer than they used to, a slower rhythm, fewer distractions, more honesty. I don't know what comes next. I only know that this is where I am now. And for the first time in a long time, I'm trying not to turn that into a problem to solve. There is something strange about starting over at 34. When you're younger, uncertainty feels acceptable, even expected. People call it exploration, experimenting, figuring things out. There's a kind of social permission to be unfinished in your 20s. But in your 30s, uncertainty feels different. At 34, people expect your life to have shape, a career, a partner, a plan, something stable enough to point to when someone asks what you do, where you're headed, or what comes next. By this age, most people have built something they can name. I walked away from mine, and that changes the way silence feels. It is one thing to be alone when life still feels full of possibility. It is another to be alone at 34, watching the days pass quietly with no clear answer for what you are building now. That is the part people do not romanticize. Not having a job is one thing. Not having a routine is another. But not having a clear identity anymore. That is what unsettles you most. When someone asks what you do, there's a pause now, a small hesitation, a question I still haven't learned how to answer cleanly. For years, the answer was simple. I'm a software engineer. The words came easily. They made sense to other people. They made sense to me. Now the answer is less convenient. Now I live quietly. I write sometimes. I think too much. I walk a lot. I am between things. I am trying to understand what remains when achievement is removed. None of those answers fit neatly into conversation. So most of the time, I say very little. There is a particular kind of loneliness in becoming difficult to explain. Not because your life has no value, but because it no longer fits the language people are used to respecting. There's no title now, no company name, no status signal, no visible momentum, and without those things, you begin to see how much of modern identity is built on being legible to other people. A job makes you legible. Success makes you legible. Relationships make you legible. Without them, people do not always know where to place you. Sometimes, neither do you. That has been one of the hardest parts of this season. Not just being alone, but becoming unrecognizable even to yourself. There are days I still measure my life against older versions of me. The version with a full calendar, the version with deadlines, the version who had things to say when people asked how life was going, the version who looked more certain from the outside. Sometimes I miss him, not because he was happier, but because he was easier to explain. Now, life is quieter and harder to summarize. It is less impressive in ways the world notices, but maybe more honest in ways the world rarely rewards. There's no applause for rebuilding privately, no validation for invisible change, no clear milestones for learning how to live without constant external proof that your life is working. A lot of this season is unremarkable from the outside. Wake up, make coffee, read, write a little, go for a walk, cook dinner, think too much, sleep, repeat. And yet beneath that repetition, something is still happening. Not loudly, not visibly, but slowly. Something in me is being stripped back. The ambition that was partly fear, the productivity that was partly avoidance, the success that was partly performance, the independence that was sometimes just isolation made to look admirable. Losing structure has exposed things I used to outrun, and I think that is why this season feels so uncomfortable. It is not just emptiness, it is exposure. There's nowhere to hide in a quiet life, no deadlines to blame, no meetings to disappear into, no constant noise to drown out what you actually feel. Just long days, unstructured time, and the version of yourself that remains when distraction is gone. Some days I still don't know what to do with that, but I am learning not every unanswered season is a failure. Some seasons are not meant to look productive. Some are meant to reveal what busyness was covering. Maybe this part of my life is not about building something visible yet. Maybe it is about learning how to exist without needing constant proof that I matter. And maybe that is where a different kind of life begins.